busy week and great shows. Your takes, as always, have made this an incredible week of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio. I am Jerry Usher with Debbie Georgiani. And Debbie, we've got a topic today that I think a lot of people are going to be able to relate to. And I expect we're going to have a lot of takes, people calling actually very early to get on the program today.
Yeah, I really do. I can relate to this topic, Jerry. The title of it is I Thought You Were My Friend. And what we really want to talk about is we all have acquaintances. We have those who are like that famous movie, who are in our circle of trust friends, and those who are closer to us, and those are friends just in passing. And then all of a sudden, maybe a tragedy hits in our lives, suffering, an illness, a divorce, something like that happens. And we look around, and after maybe a couple weeks, couple months, we look around and our friends are not really there for us. They've abandoned us. They've let go of the friendship, maybe because of a fear of somehow, I don't know. I've actually had somebody ask me if cancer was contagious. I when I was going through it, I have to let you know.
Wow.
Oh yes, and actually it was a family member, Jerry. I'm actually sad to say that it was a family member that asked me if cancer was contagious, and it really did sever me a little bit in my heart, in the sense of saying, wow, you can't be that insensitive to ask that while I'm going through something so painful. Dear listeners, I went through thyroid cancer in 1994, and I learned a lot about friends. I learned about if they really are your friends, they will be with you. If they're just friends maybe that want to be with you because you're fun to hang out with, or maybe your status in life or something like that, then are they really friends? So we're talking today about I Thought You Were My Friend, and what happens when suffering happens, and where are those friends? That's how you really do know what a person is made of when you're going through troubles in life, Jerry.
Yeah, for sure. And so here's the phone number to get you started on your takes, 1-800-585-9396, 1-800-585-9396. And Debbie, I'm glad you shared what you did. And this is not in any way, this isn't a judgment of people at all. I remember when I went through my depression a few years ago, I really learned a lot about people that I know, and it was amazing because a lot of people I thought would just be, oh, what can we do, and by my side all the time, and this isn't like saying, oh, gee, gosh, poor me, I really wanted people to coddle me and all this stuff, but it's just if somebody I knew was going through something, I would really want to try to be there. And at the same time, God brought unexpected people, Debbie, that I never would have imagined would have been just really, really supportive. And so I did have people who initially were like, hey, anything we can do, just ask, just call. And when you're going through something like that, you're really not usually the one who's going to reach out, because you're just kind of enclosed in your pain or your difficulty. It could be a lost job. It could be the death of a loved one. It could be a disease like cancer, something like that. So, dear friends, if you've been through a trying time, share with us how you felt, or how you reacted, and how you made it through situations when people that you thought, oh man, I know he's going to be there. I know she's going to be there for me, and actually that person wasn't. 800-585-9396.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Jerry. Not only I've been through a lot in my life. Not only did I go through cancer, but I went through a divorce. And I will tell you the cancer situation, that was bad enough when having to deal with people and who was going to be there for you, who's going to be there for the long haul. But the divorce one was a real shocker. Friends of mine that I lived in the neighborhood with for 20 years, that I carpooled their children around to school and babysat their kids, and the next thing you know, you weren't invited to things because you were divorced. And I found out later, and this is very, very unsettling, because you know me, Jerry, it didn't hit me well at all, being a person that, I worked for the Catholic Church, and it didn't sit well with me at all. I actually had a friend pull me aside and said, I asked her, I said, why was I not invited to social? See, I'm going to get emotional because it's still very raw inside of me. I said, why wasn't I invited to social gatherings anymore? And she said, because, Deb, you were single and we're all married. Do you get
Wow.
you get where I'm going?
Oh, yeah.
And I said, so you don't think at all I would be interested in your husbands, do you? I mean, you got to be kidding me. And they actually down deep, some of them thought that, and I was so hurt. I was so hurt, Jerry. It was painful. And I didn't want to be insulting of their husbands or their situations, but I was like, wow, is that how little you think of me after you've known me for that many years? And that was painful. And I think conversations like this are really good, Jerry, because it does make people aware of how they respond to their friends and how they react in situations. Because when somebody is going through a painful situation or they're suffering with a disease or an illness, the last thing they want to do is feel more disconnected. That's the very last thing that somebody wants. Right. So anyway, I'm not trying to cry the blues either. I moved past it, but this topic is stirring up a lot of feelings, so go ahead.
Well, again, we tie every topic that we choose into our faith, and this one ties in so easily because we're all called to be Christ to other people, especially the suffering, those who are going through difficult situations, those who are marginalized, those who are oppressed in any way. And so what I want to also ask our listeners, if this has happened to you, share your experience. But on the flip side, maybe you know somebody who went through a very, very horrible time and you chose to be there for them. That was your being Christ to them. And I'd love to hear how that made a difference in their life, because we are all made in the image and likeness of God, and we're all called to be in communion. And it's easy enough to isolate ourselves, Debbie, when we're going through things. We think, oh, nobody's going to want to hear about this. Nobody's going to want to help me. So we tend to withdraw. So I think it's all the more incumbent upon us to make the initiative and go toward those people who need our help.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. And and I don't want to, you know me, Jerry, I do not want to go approach this topic in a downer situation. I always like to look at the glass half full and the positive, stay in the positive side of things. So I do want to share this. I have been blessed abundantly. I mean, abundantly, with friends and family members and especially friends from, well, I love my family too, don't get me wrong, but friends from childhood. I still have my absolute sister, I call her. She's not even a friend. She's a sister since I was 6 months old. Still friends with my kindergarten friends from Catholic school. I mean, can you believe that? I'm 50 years old, still friends with my kindergarten friends. And God has blessed me abundantly with friends in my adult life. So I have to tell you, when I was going through the cancer, there might have been one or two that really shocked me at how they just kind of abandoned. But the majority were amazing. The prayers, I was lifted in prayers. My husband at the time, my former husband at the time, would collect baskets and baskets and baskets of prayers, Jerry. And I was so tired and weak, I couldn't even read them, that every once in a while, he'd bring in a basket. I'm not talking a couple prayer cards. I'm talking a basket, a gigantic basket of prayers. And I would have friends constantly sending food and constantly calling and constantly being there, going to hospital visits, doing stuff. So the absolute majority was utterly amazing. But it's interesting. It's funny how I can remember that one that made the comment that was really hurtful, and it sticks with you. So for the most part, I'm so blessed to have that. And I would want that for everyone else that's going through a painful experience, to have that abundance of friendship and love around you. It carries you. It makes you float. And it really can get you through life's really toughest times if you have that support, Jerry.
All right, 1-800-585-9396. Perhaps you're thinking right now, well, I've had this happen to me. I've experienced the abandonment of friends or family when I was going through tough times, but I don't want to call and talk about it because I don't want to mention names and incriminate anybody. Well, you don't have to do that. It's not so much, we're not necessarily we're not here to name names, put people on the hot seat, judge people or anything. This is just about the situation itself. How you dealt with it. How did you get through it? Were you able to forgive the people who weren't there for you when you were going through that tough time? Did they come back after things got better, or were you there for somebody as well? This is a very, very faith-related topic that we're discussing today. And you hear the music. We're going to take our first break, then get to Donna in Laredo, Texas. We've got Alice and others. One phone line open if you'd like it. 1-800-585-9396. Take two with Jerry and Debbie continues in a minute.
It's new. It's Catholic. It's live from our studios at Christ Cathedral. Call Me Catholic with Peggy Normandin. A full hour of talk, interviews, and commentary on faith. Celebrating, exploring, and restoring our Catholic identity in a modern world. Call Me Catholic every Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Hi, I'm Doug Keck, the host of EWTN's Bookmark, and I wanted to tell you about a new book, Praying with Mother Angelica, Meditations on the Rosary, the Way of the Cross, and Other Prayers. It's a wonderful new book available right now. Order it today.
To get your copy of Praying with Mother Angelica, log on to our web store, EWTNRC.com, and type in item 80008, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Jerry Usher, Debbie Georgianni here on EWTN Radio. It is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. And as always, the programming just rolls right along here every hour of the day on EWTN Radio. We got 2 o'clock Eastern Time, Call to Communion with Dr. David Anders. He takes calls from non-Catholics and fallen away Catholics. And there are so many of them, so many of you. If you are one of them and you want to know, well, maybe I want to look a little bit more into this, back into this Catholic thing, or look into it if you're not a Catholic. David Anders is very, very pastoral, very compassionate, very understanding. You won't get judged. You will get a great answer to your question.
Great show. I love that
Call
show.
to Communion, 2 p.m. Eastern Time with Dr. David Anders.
Okay, as promised, we're going to move right along to Donna in Laredo, Texas, listening to EWTN Radio on Sirius XM 130. Donna, you are first up. Share with us your take on this topic.
Good morning.
Hi, Donna.
Good
Good morning.
I couldn't help but to call in because when I was in my 30s, I went through a divorce and custody battle. And I was also working in a government job, which there was a lot of difficulty, like politics. And I always took everything personal. It was so hard. The custody battle was, oh, my God. I never thought I would, it was so difficult. And then 3 years ago, my son called me at nighttime around, I want to say around 11 o'clock at night, and he told me, he said, Mom, I'm just calling to tell you how much I love you, and I want to tell you thank you for never giving up on me. And I said, are you drinking or something? Because, he just usually didn't say things like that. And 6 hours later, he was involved in a car wreck where he lived for 6 hours, and he passed away. And at first it was so hard. I never did get upset with the Lord, or, at God, because I knew that it was His will. But the wound was so deep, I didn't think, I almost didn't make it the first year. And I deleted so many of my friends on Facebook because I knew it would be therapeutic for me to write what I was going through, and I was hoping other people would learn from my pain, or so they would realize how precious life is. So I would put everything out there on the Facebook, and I had this one friend that I never really hung around with him, but I didn't delete him. I don't know why. And he was Catholic, and he invited me to an Acts retreat. I don't know if they have that live. Mm-hmm. But I said, well, I'm not Catholic, and they said, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be Catholic. So at that time, I said, I don't care what religion it is. I'm desperate. I'm in a very deep place in my life. I wanted to die, but I knew I couldn't commit suicide. So, long story short, the Catholic retreat changed my life. I had never been to confession. But I just, and when they would say the rosary and stuff, I would just say a prayer. I just went along with everything because I was so desperate. I was so hungry for God's. I knew that He was going to comfort me, but I didn't know how. And it happened. I went to the retreat, and the priest there was the nicest priest on earth. And as soon as I saw him, I broke down, and the words he told me resonate with me still to this day. He said, I want you to continue your journey with your son by your side, because you are on a journey and you need to complete your journey. And it was hard.
Donna, first of all, our condolences at the loss of your son. If you don't mind sharing his first name with us, we like to have the Take Two with Jerry and Debbie family pray along with us for those who have passed away. Would you share your son's first name with us?
His name is Jacob.
Okay. Beautiful name, Jacob, close to God with a name like that. And Donna, you've said so much, and Debbie, I know, has a couple of comments, but the one thing that has struck me as I'm listening to you is the education that this has provided for other people. What you've gone through and your ability to share that, to accept it, like you said, as God's will, that's astonishing in and of itself. I sometimes think, I've lost both parents, but they were, they'd lived full lives and haven't really lost anyone really close to me. And I've wondered sometimes how I would deal with that and deal with the emptiness and the loss and the pain. But the fact that you have chosen to share this, to share what is going on in your heart, to continue that journey, as that priest said, that is so educational for people, Debbie. I think that could be among the many fruits of what has happened to Donna, is the fact that she is going to be able to touch many, many lives by her experience.
Exactly, Donna. By your story is going to relate to many, many people and be able to bring them comfort through this very troubling, sad time that you are still going through, because it's your son. You're never going to forget that. You're never going to let that he's with you. And Donna, one thing that really struck me is if I heard you correctly, you said you basically pulled away and unfriended. I'm getting very emotional actually at your story. I told Jerry to go first because it hit me really deeply, your story. You unfriended your friends except for this one friend. And it just reinforces and affirms how much God loves us and how much He loves you, Donna. Because that one friend was the one way to you. That one person was the way that God was going to touch you. And because you stayed open to God, look what has happened. You were brought to that retreat. You opened yourself up, began the healing process, received inspiring words to move on with. And I'm just grateful. I'm grateful that you were open. I'm grateful to God, and I'm grateful that one friend was the vessel that got you there, Donna. So I just wanted to say that I'm happy it's working out to where you can find comfort and peace and healing.
I just want to add the one scripture that really kept me going was the one that says there is joy in the morning. And it is so true. Like, I was in such a dark place, but God has restored my joy. Not that I have gotten over my son, because I never will, but just that God has restored my joy like He did with Job. Once Job got through that darkness, you never heard about darkness happening to him again. And that's how I feel. The Lord has given me so much joy since my son passed. I've been blessed, like you were saying, times so much. I've had so many Catholic friends and friends just constantly reaching out to me, and now my joy is I know that I'll be with him again.
Wow,
and
Donna,
thank y'all for letting me share, because I feel that is going to be part of my journey, is to share my story and be there for anybody that ever needs help.
You're very right about that. And the fact that you have joy, Donna, is it can only be infused by God. And I think really, really deep, abiding joy that cannot be shaken by anything. I may be wrong about this, but I think it only comes, it's only a fruit of having been through some sort of suffering, some sort of darkness, this real joy, the joy that Jesus talks about. He wants our joy to be complete. So Donna, bless you. We will let you go on that because we have a lot of calls here. We're talking today about, I thought you were my friend. When we go through difficult times, some of the people that we think most certainly are going to be by our sides, we look around and it's like, where are they? And maybe... Debbie, one of the things I'm thinking of, I don't want to delay the calls, but I think sometimes people can't deal with what other people are going through. And so they see us in our difficulties and it kind of freaks them out. And they just are like, wow, I don't know what to do with this. So that's just another thought there. Right. But we're going to move along to Alice in Metairie, Louisiana, listening to EWTN Radio on EWTN.com. Alice, welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi, Jerry and Debbie. It's Alice. You've talked to me before.
Hi, Alice.
I was emotionally messed up in college and wanted to try to get a sorority. Didn't get in it. Very upset about that. But then got into an international sorority. That was fine for about 3 years. Then because I wanted to change to another chapter, somebody told them that I was married to one guy and I wasn't. And they wouldn't accept me. They wouldn't let me bring my baby with me at the time. I mean, I quit and I said, I wrote an angry letter to the sorority. And then I became a secular Franciscan 32 years ago. And I'm lovingly accepted by my Franciscan brothers and sisters. And it's like, you go through problems one step at a time. Mm-hmm. And the Lord will provide with you what you want, but it's going to take time, and that's the hardest part of it.
Right.
And then I had somebody in my family that said, oh, you have friends? And it's like, that hurt a lot too, but I know I have friends. We meet another group. I meet with me at Tasty. There was about 12 of us that meet almost every day. And I'm loved now, and that's what I wanted when I was in sorority. Tried to get into sororities. So I know what people are going through, and it hurts. But you get over the hurt once you realize there's something better for you.
Right. And Alice, the other thing too, you brought something up that really it merits for us to talk about is the fact that we can't live in the past. We can't keep going back and stirring up old wounds and remembering things. We must move forward. I interviewed a gentleman a couple days, yesterday actually, 83 years old. And in his book, he was talking about, he wrote a book actually. And in his book, he talked about you have to leave the past behind. You have to move forward. You have to stay in the moment and look forward, because dwelling on the hurts and the pains of the past will only keep us stuck. And I think that's a great reminder for us all to move forward. And the other thing, too, I just wanted to add real quickly, Alice, we have earthly friends. We do. We all have earthly friends. But more importantly, we have heavenly friends. We have the saints. And they are active, and they are real, and they are moving in our lives. And those are the saints that are going to be, those are the friends that are going to be with us for eternity. So I just wanted to say that again, Alice. Thanks for the call. Thank you for calling. I know we got to take a break in just about a minute, Jerry, and I want to make sure we stay on the clock so that we can make sure we can get to all these calls. We've got full phone lines, Jerry.
Yeah, we do. If you're on the line, hang on. Elizabeth will be next. We've just got you in the order that you call, so thank you so much. We got Maria and Mary and Nancy. 1-800-585-9396. You've ever said to yourself about somebody, I thought you were my friend? That's what we're talking about right now. Again, this is not passing judgment. It's just we sometimes have to deal with these kinds of things. We don't know. We don't know how human beings are going to react when we go through something difficult. And so maybe you've had that experience of feeling abandoned by the last person in the world you thought would not be there for you. Again, we're not necessarily asking you to name names or anything, but how'd you get through that? And maybe you were there for somebody who needed you. 1-800-585-9396. Please join us.
From EWTN News Nightly in Washington, D.C., I'm Lauren Ashburn. U.S. Vice President Joe Biden calls for increased funding for cancer research at the Vatican today. Biden lost his son to cancer last year and was invited to speak at the Vatican's conference on regenerative medicine. Pope Francis greeted the vice president before his speech. The man behind the undercover Planned Parenthood videos appears in Texas court today. David Daleiden is charged with second-degree record tampering and a misdemeanor for attempting to buy human organs. Daleiden says the indictment is an attack on citizen journalism. At least 20 people are arrested outside a Donald Trump rally in California. The peaceful protest grew rowdy. One man jumped a police car and smashed windows. Pope Francis warns Christians not to lead double lives during his homily. The Holy Father says, "Don't be a liar. You are in communion with God."
I'm Raymond Arroyo with Mother Angelica, A Remarkable Life. In 1953, young Sister Angelica was cleaning a floor here at Sancta Clara Monastery in Canton, Ohio. She was using one of those mechanized scrubbers. It flew out of control and threw her to the floor, injuring her spine. 3 years later, finding it difficult to walk, she had to undergo a painful surgery. Shortly before that surgery, she made a promise to build a monastery to God's glory in the South. She would make good on that promise, establishing her monastery in Birmingham, Alabama. Stay with EWTN as we celebrate the life of Mother Mary Angelica.
We're so glad you joined us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Jerry, is this the last day of the Redeemer Radio Pledge Drive?
It is. Yeah, it's been fantastic. Another great share-a-thon here in Fort Wayne.
Wow, and we're having a great final hours at the Station of the Cross. Calls are coming in. In fact, this hour, they made a challenge of everybody from Take Two listeners who have called in over the year, because we're coming up on our year anniversary, Jerry. They asked a challenge for those Take Two listeners to call in and make a pledge. I think that's kind of cool. It'd be kind of neat to hear all
I hope they both did.
Oh my goodness. We've had a couple already that have called in that are Take Two listeners that made pledges. It's really nice. So God bless you all. And I just wanted to say, Donna's call, you were so beautiful. Thank you, Donna. And Alice, I love when you call in. You have such a beautiful spirit when you call. So thank you, Alice. Okay, we're talking about I Thought You Were My Friend. Troubles hit, and where you look around, and where are your close friends? Maybe that if your close friends are right next to you, kind of locking arms with you, then you are blessed. If they're not, why is that? So maybe we want to talk about it. Joe, you are up next. Listening to EWTN Radio in Massachusetts on Emmanuel Radio. Hi, Joe. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hello. How are you?
Doing well. How are you, Joe?
Good, thanks. I had a little different side of the story, I guess. I recently, well, actually, it's not so recent anymore, probably 10 years ago, I really hurt my niece and nephew just because I didn't realize just how important I was to them. They just asked me to read at their wedding, and I did. And I said, but we had a little baby at the time, and, they weren't having children at the wedding. So I said, well, that's fine. My wife and I will go to the ceremony, but we won't go to the reception. And it really hurt their feelings that we would have missed their reception. I didn't mean to hurt them, but I did, and we did end up going to the reception, but not the point, really. Is that I think sometimes people that do the hurting don't realize they're doing the hurting.
Well, Joe,
does that make any sense?
Oh, absolutely. When you were talking, I was actually writing some follow-up comments. You're so right. I think sometimes, and maybe I hope I'm not putting feelings or thoughts in your mind, but is it just because this is what I have encountered with friends who have said, wow, I didn't realize that hurt you, is people are just are into their lives. They have their own, things happening. And it's not that they're trying to be insensitive. It's not that they're trying to hurt. They're just not aware that maybe their words or their actions are having a direct impact. And it's really kind of an oversight, if you will. Am I presuming too much, or what do you think, Joe?
You're right on the money. In my case, I just didn't realize that my presence was important enough to be there. That was that important to them. I'm just one uncle out of a very large family, but I was really important to them, and I didn't get that.
Yeah, but now you do, Joe.
But now I do, right?
Yeah.
It's no way near what you were describing. Going through cancer and having someone ask you what's contagious. That blew my mind. That's so unconscionable in this day and age that anyone would think that anyway. Mm-hmm. That was so hurtful. I actually felt pain for you to tell that story.
Thank you. And it was of one of my siblings, so that made it even worse.
That's so painful.
Yeah, but thank you.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
I just was thinking about it from the other side. That's all. Sometimes we don't even realize when we hurt people.
Right.
That's true.
Right.
True.
That's a good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Joe makes a great point there, because we have to take that into consideration. I made the comment earlier that sometimes people can't deal with things. I know. Excuse me. I'm thinking of one friend in particular when I mentioned I went through a period of depression, and he kind of just fell off the radar screen, and I just got to thinking, this is probably difficult for him, because I don't know why, but it can be difficult for us to see people go through things because we're afraid maybe it'll happen to us, or if it's a loved one or a family member, we think, well, are they going to live? Are they going to make it? And it causes all kinds of emotional and psychological reactions in us. So that's one thing. But then also, maybe perhaps it's just we don't realize how much somebody depends upon us, Debbie. Maybe we don't think of ourselves as highly as we ought, not to be prideful, but to think that somebody really, really depends on us, and by not being there for them, we're letting them down, even if it's inadvertent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that we're a value in others' lives. Absolutely. I think Joe's point is amazing, and his comments are really great, because it does make us look at. That's what Take Two is all about. We're supposed to look at every angle, every side of things, and I'm so glad, Joe. I'm so glad you called in and took that time to share that, because it does shape and change the conversation a bit to have us look at all angles. So I appreciate that, Joe. God bless you, and God bless the rest of your day in Massachusetts.
All right, next we're going to go down to Lexington, Kentucky. Elizabeth listening to EWTN Radio on Real Life Radio. Elizabeth, you're up next on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. How are you?
Doing better now that you called. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, so I just want to say something just really quick before I go into my story. It's never too late to be a good friend. I had moved across the country and had distanced myself since high school, so through college and whatnot, with my best friend that I had grown up since I was 4 years old. And I lived on the other side of the country, talked to her maybe once a year. So we had kind of drifted apart. And her little brother, who I grew up with as well, was killed in an accident. And there was a whole lot of turmoil and drama. He was cremated, and part of his family took their half of the ashes, and it was really a crazy situation. And I had to sit down and think, because, a part of me was like, well, we haven't talked in forever, and, we're not that close anymore. Do I even have a place if I were to fly back because I want to be there for her? Or is it going to make things worse, right? And so a lot of times when people do distance themselves, part of it is, where's my role in this? What can I do? And then also, they're sitting there thinking, what is the effect of me being there going to have? What's the impact, really? And I end up dropping everything and flying back, and it was really the best decision I could have made. And I ended up moving home, and we're closer than ever. But I just wanted to say that also, too, if you have a friend, and we all have had friends that have turned their backs on us at one point or another, having mercy for people takes a lot of strength when you're in the position of the person who's hurt. And, when you think about Christ, it wasn't just one apostle. It was all of them. They scattered. And, you know, he turned around and he was forgiving people left and right. And I know that we're not all Christ and we're not all, you know, that strong all the time. But typically when people do things like that, because I thought about long term, if I don't fly, what will happen? And I was like, I'll always regret this, because this was the opportunity that I could have had, you know, to be there for her, and I didn't. And so, you know, people who make those decisions will oftentimes reflect or go back to them, and, you know, maybe they come up to you later and like, you know, I always felt bad about this, or, you know,
Regrets.
whatever.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Regrets. Absolutely, Elizabeth. Elizabeth, I want to just share something, because you sound you sound quite young, which you have a beautiful voice. I'm a lot older than you are, so if I don't say something, I will forget it. So, Elizabeth, I have to tell you, you're a great friend, and it shows the spirit inside of you to do that. I think that's beautiful. You said you were friends with your girlfriend from childhood, and then you made that effort to be there for her in her time of need, and you rekindled that friendship and kept that. And you know what? I think that's beautiful about you. I love that. It shows a sense of friendship and loyalty, and it just real great strength to do that. And I wish, and when I say young, I don't mean that you're young, but you have a young voice, which is great. Keep that voice forever, Elizabeth. But anyway, I wish more people were like you, because that's awesome to make that effort and to really say, you know, I don't want to live with regrets. I want to do this. This was my friend, is my friend, and I'm going to make a difference. And look what's happened. Here's one more step further, Elizabeth, to continue that beautiful friendship that you have with your girlfriend. Can you share the first name of the little brother that passed away?
Yes, his name is Cole.
Cole. And see, yeah, go ahead.
And, you know, in all honesty, I was so scared. Please don't think that I had these ideas that things were going to go perfect, because, you know, it was really terrifying, because I was scared that I was going to show up and they're going to be like, well, what are you doing here? You know, so.
Oh, exactly. No, we got it. We got it loud and clear. We've all been in that same, or most of us have been in that same position. But and that's okay that you felt that scared feeling, but you purged through it, Elizabeth, and look what happened. It turned out a beautiful thing, and it's a God thing. And you are Christ to her, and that's beautiful. And here's what's I think even more beautiful. Now you have a global audience, Elizabeth, that you just shared Cole's name. Now you've got prayers that are surrounding Cole and his family and your girlfriend, and now you can share that with your girlfriend and say, you know, I shared that story, and now there's prayers all around the world for you and Cole and your family. Talk about, that's the kind of friendships we've got to build, these eternal connections, Elizabeth, and you're doing that here right on earth. I just say kudos to you. Way to go, girl. You're awesome. I would love for you to be my friend. There you go.
I echo all of that. Elizabeth, thanks so much for your call and for sharing that with us. We appreciate it so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Take two with Jerry and Debbie. As Debbie said earlier, this is what this show is about. You drive the show. Your takes make the show, really. Debbie and I could sit here and talk for 55 minutes, 5 days a week, and who would listen? Who would want to tune into that? Not me, Debbie.
Me neither.
Unless you were talking, Debbie. But it's really you, our listeners.
Yep.
We talk about the things of life, and you're the ones, we've all lived them. And you've lived them, and so we appreciate you sharing. Nancy's up next in Iowa, listening on, she's in Des Moines, listening to EWTN Radio on Iowa Catholic Radio. Hi, Nancy, welcome. Are you there, Nancy?
Hey, Nancy.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, I am.
No problem. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. I just want to call in. I heard the first part of your show and been listening on hold, but I had a wonderful lady that I had met because our sons were diagnosed with the same type of cancer relatively at the same time back in 2010. And, pardon me, I'm just kind of out of breath. And as we're going through treatment, things weren't going well for her son. And we had an instant, just very close bond, and it was really hard because I didn't know if she wanted me to be around her. Because, you know, we were having success with treatment and they weren't.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I'm like, well, what do? You know, you just take her lead. If she wants to talk about it, we'll talk about it. And if she doesn't, we'll talk about, you know, the weather or whatever. And her son ended up passing. Well, actually, coming up here in about a week will be the anniversary of his death. And, you know, went to the funeral and everything, and would still visit with her. And in fact, we're still very good friends. And I was really shocked because I felt like I was one of those peripheral people that just kind of barely knew her, had met a few of her family just briefly. And I was visiting her probably about 6 months later, and she had told me that she hardly had any contact with any of her friends, like long-time, lifelong type friends. And I'm like, it was the first time that it ever crossed my mind that that would happen, but it had a lot to do with that whole concept of not knowing what to do and not knowing what to say to her. And it was really bizarre to me because I'm like, here I was thinking that I'd be the last person that you really want to see because of that. I mean, she doesn't have a hostile bone in her body, I don't think. So it gave me a lot of confidence that she wouldn't have any kind of ill feelings towards, you know, myself or my son. But still, it would be difficult, you know.
Right.
Just like if someone's trying to conceive and another person, you know, accidentally conceives or whatever you want to say, you know. It'd still be a difficult situation.
Sure.
And I was just really glad there were some things along the line during the journey of treatment and stuff that just kind of really prepared me for the situation that was probably going to arise. And I'm just really glad that, you know, kind of like one of your other callers said, you know, even though you're scared and you don't know what your role is going to be and what they're going to want, that, you know, I made that effort to go, okay, you know, if she doesn't want to talk to me, she'll avoid me, you know, because it never occurred to me that someone wouldn't want to be around you, you know, because of that, because they just couldn't deal with it.
Right. You have to purge through that fear of rejection and to know really what your importance is or value is into that other person's life. It sounds like she really trusted you and trusts you and feels comfortable with you, and that's an important thing. Nancy, let me just for our prayer books, because we want to make sure we get everybody. How is your son doing? He's thriving, doing well?
He is doing well. He recently finished his treatment for his second relapse. And has no evidence of disease. So at this time, knock on wood.
Can you share his first name, Nancy?
Brandon.
Brandon. Okay, so prayers will be for Brandon for continued healing and health. And can you share your friends that went through the journey with you that her son was her son passed?
Yes, his name is Blake.
Blake. Oh, they were both B's. Wow.
Yeah.
They're both B's.
And they're only about a year apart. So.
Wow. So there was see, and that makes it even harder because there was I bet you there was like a brotherhood connection there.
And they had some similarities in their personality, and it was kind of interesting because they were going through this long treatment process, and it seemed like one or the other of them always was in a case where there were signs of their immune system being very compromised.
Right.
And so they rarely actually got to spend time together. So they might be in the hospital on the same floor at the same time, but they'd like instant message each other because they couldn't, like one would have a fever or something like that, and they couldn't be around each other because of the precautions.
Sure. Yeah. Wow. Well, please let Brandon know that we are holding him up in prayer, and we want him to be continually to be well and have many, many, many years on this earth, because we need,
Exactly.
we do. We need young folks, especially like Brandon, who have been through a lot, because those are the ones that are going to teach us how to get through life. You know, so
Kind of interesting because when he was 15, when he was diagnosed, and he would have people, making favorable comments to me and to him, and he finally asked me, it's like, I'm not doing anything, Mom. I'm just doing what they tell me to do. And I'm like, but it's because you're doing it, you still have joy, and you're not whining, and you're not moping, and you're just doing what they told you to do and still living your life. Oh. Oh.
Beautiful.
And it's like, that's a testament to your faith and to your personality.
Amen to that.
Yeah,
Amen.
and that itself makes such a difference. How we deal with adversity can turn somebody's life around completely. And so, Nancy, what you've shared today, you have educated and enlightened and inspired. I know me and Debbie and all of our listeners as well. I just love to hear stories like this. And so thanks, Nancy, so very, very much. We're going to try to get to another call or two here, but please do keep listening. Be sure you pray for and you and all of your fellow Iowans there support Iowa Catholic Radio. I'm sure you do that. It's pledge drive season right now, so maybe they've had theirs. I'm not sure. But thank you, Nancy, for joining us. And we're going to keep all of the folks you mentioned in our prayers and get over to Maria next, listening to EWTN Radio in Ashtabula, Ohio. Hi, Maria. You're up now with Take Two and Jerry and Debbie. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How about you guys?
Doing well. Appreciate
Thank
your
you,
call.
Maria.
I've had the experience of that there were some people that I thought were my friends, but when it came down to it, they only wanted what they could get. And one of them I was supposed to marry.
Oh, is that right?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you did not end up marrying him, I presume?
No, I am very single.
Very single.
Yes, I am as single as you are, Jerry.
Thank you. Well, yeah, it's Maria, that's you got to be careful about situations like that. Not really sure what to say. Debbie, maybe you've got some comments, but it is not uncommon. It's human nature. I think we all do it. Hopefully there's an objective approach to those we know and love, and that is because of who they are, their own inherent dignity, their worth, they're being made in the image and likeness of God, and simply because they exist and they have life, that we should be very, very empathetic and compassionate and very generous with our time and so forth. It does creep in there, Debbie, that I think we all have that temptation to kind of look through our Rolodex or our list of friends and say, well, it would be a little more fun to hang out with this person, or
this one can get me into
so-and-so's
that
got a bigger
restaurant.
house. They've got that bigger screen TV to watch the game on Sunday or something like that. So it's a temptation. But boy, it sounds like Maria headed off a possible tough situation there.
I was just going to say that, Maria, your beautiful name, Maria, after the Blessed Mother. Obviously, the good Lord was protecting you, and the Blessed Mother was protecting you from, we did a show on givers and takers, and when there's takers in the world that just want to, whatever they can have, whether it's a friendship or situations or business dealings or any type of, anything, it's unfortunate. And I'm happy for you that it was stopped before you got into a situation where it wouldn't have been great for you. And so that's God protected you. Well, you have a great name, Maria. So you have the Blessed Mother's name. So there you go. So you're already lucky.
Any other thoughts, Maria, before we're getting set to wrap up the show? Did you have anything else?
Yeah, I just paid attention to the red flags because we both get assistance through our physical disabilities, and his helpers, let's just say, were giving him some bad ideas that weren't very Christian-like.
Wow.
Well, yeah, we get influenced by other people as well. Maria, thanks. On that note, we got to get ready to close the program here. Thank you so very much for listening. I did want to share what Rebecca said on EWTN Catholic Radio, our Facebook page, in terms of just being left alone or abandoned by someone that she thought would be there. Rebecca said, "This happened a long time ago, and much has changed since that time. While I remember the pain, I have chosen to move forward and let go of those thoughts." She says, "The only thing that matters is that these people are here for me and my family now, and I know that they are very sorry for those times." So it sounds like a very good result has come out of that. She says, "So why dwell on the past and allow it to steal the joy of the present and the future?" And it says heart emoticon there. So thanks, Rebecca, for sharing that.
Amen to that. And that brings up a good point, dear listeners. We post the topic of the show and also the short take on EWTN Catholic Radio Facebook page and the television Facebook page as well. Please check it out, share it with your friends, because I get calls and texts all the time. "I heard about the topic of the show. How do I listen to it, or how can I hear part of it?" Well, that's how you can stay and keep the conversation going, like you heard the post from Rebecca. Also, too, real quickly, do I have a second real quick just to share a real quick story? Because I wanted just to finish with a joyful ending. Joe was so kind in Massachusetts to share his compassion about me being hurt by one of my family members asking if cancer was contagious. But I want to tell you a beautiful story that and my friend Debbie has called in a few times on the show here at Take Two, and I hope she's listening, because I've thanked her many, many years since 1994, but something that she did, she didn't even realize that she did at the time. I reminded her of it years later. She didn't even realize she did it because she was just going from her heart. For those of you who know about thyroid cancer, real quickly, you have to go through radioactive iodine treatment, and you have to be in quarantine for about 3 to 5 days. Can't go near anybody. And you're not supposed to hug them. You're not supposed to touch them because you could be radiating radiation. Yeah. Well, that was a double. That was
something like that.
Something like that. Anyway, but I was in quarantine, and my friends, I have wonderful friends. Like I said, God bless them all. I have wonderful friends. They came to visit. And Debbie walked right in the door, and I said, "Don't hug me." And she grabbed me and hugged me. And she hugged me. And to this day, she's never regretted it. And God bless her for that. So I want to say thank you, Deb. Jerry, how about that One Faith Experience DVD?
Well, it sounds like she didn't get any radiation radiated, which is good.
Nope, she didn't.
Yeah, folks, we had the One Faith Experience last week. The DVD set is in production right now. Father Larry Richards, Teresa Tomeo, Deacon Harold, Tim Staples, all the others. And it's a special price right now. You can enjoy the One Faith Experience